Hello and welcome to the Fantasyland Basketball Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mark Shorten. I feel like I'm saying the same thing every single week, that injuries are killing me, and last week was no exception in one or two leagues. In some other leagues, I'm managing to scrape through for wins or scrape through for draws, even with the injuries. So that does put me in an okay position, I suppose, but it's still not amazing. I need James Harden back is essentially what the crux of it is. James Harden and Chris Paul will solve a lot of my problems when they come back. So if I'm looking down the list, third in two leagues, second, a first, a fourth, and a 10th. The 10th one is probably the one that hurts the most. Not only because it's the worst position by a long way, but because that's one with guys I've been playing with fantasy basketball for over a decade, and they let me know about it, which is great. The banter and stuff is all good. There's only 3 people in the league that will actually do a trade, myself and 2 others that actually will do a trade. Everybody else is very difficult to trade with, which does make it really tough, especially because at the moment I'm looking to change my strategy and to completely revamp my entire side. I'm going to try and move away from Harden, Kyrie, Rozier, Trey Jones, and just punt assists altogether, and hopefully get a couple of bigs and some blocks back. But it's tough. It's tough whenever nobody engages in trade conversations, because you kind of just a little screwed, but that's okay. Last year I traded myself into a bad position and then out of a bad position, so I'm hoping that I can do the same again, given that I'm already in the bad position, trade into a good position. But we'll see. One of the sides, I think I've mentioned before, 10-team league. I've got Embiid, LeBron, Shea, Holiday, Kyrie, Anthony Davis. That team is flying. Just the outs, Embiid, LeBron, and Maxey at the moment that are hurting. But again, will persist. I drafted injury-prone players knowing that when they played, I was going to be unreal. But whenever they were out, I was probably going to struggle a little bit. But that's okay. Take the good with the bad. It's what we play fantasy basketball for. What's life without a little bit of stress, eh? But hopefully, and just with a real smooth segue, we can talk about some fantasy basketball waiver wire additions that can help whenever you've got some injury-prone guys or you've got some guys that are sitting. As you may or may not know, if you're first time listening to the podcast, great. Thank you, and hit the follow and subscribe button. If you are a seasoned vet listening to my dulcet tones, then you would know that whenever I look at the waiver wire ads, I look at both ESPN and Yahoo ownership and make sure that I'm taking players that are under 40% on both of those. Every so often there'll be a player that's right on that threshold, but the purpose of it is to get players that are underneath that 40% mark. That way they're going to be free to pick up in the majority of leagues, 60% or more. So the first person that I do want to talk about is a guy that I spoke about last week as well, or if not last week, it was the week before, and I think that he's in for a big second half of the year, and I think now is the time to buy on him, and that's Jalen Williams. So if we look at the last 7 days, he has played just shy of 33 minutes a night, 13 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, under a steal, under a block, which is fine. But they're just throwing minutes at him. And with OKC, whenever they put young players on the court, those young players seem to succeed. We've seen it with Shea. We've seen it with Dort. We've seen it with Giddey. Poku is playing really well at the moment. I don't expect that Jalen Williams is going to disappear. Yes, he's going to have games where he's better than others. Yes, he's going to have games where he's droppable, where he will hit the waiver wire, where his minutes drop down to 15. But take the good with the bad. It'll all come out in the wash, and he will average close to 30 minutes a night for the remainder of the season, average close to 15 points a night for the remainder of the season with 5 boards, 4 assists or thereabouts. The other thing that we've probably got to look at is taking history into account with the OKC Thunder. They've still got a haul of draft picks. They don't want to be very good this year. They don't want to be good next year. Potentially even the year after that. And Shea is winning games off his own back. Josh Giddey has been injured. These are 2 guys that could absolutely see the pine in the second half of the year. And if Jalen Williams is getting, double the usage, then we are going to see a hell of a lot more production out of him. Yes, percentages might hurt. Yes, turnovers might hurt. But if you can get 20 points, 6 and 6 off the waivers for the silly season of basketball, I think that he could be a win. I think that he could be a match winner and a league winner down the stretch. So I really like Jalen Williams. I should probably let you know where he's owned or how much he's owned. We are looking at 32% of Yahoo leagues own Jalen Williams, and only 4% of ESPN leagues own Jalen Williams. Far too low. Far too low. Second player I have liked for a while, is Patrick Williams. Two Williams there. I was trying to look for a third Williams and a fourth and a fifth, but I couldn't, unfortunately. So just the 2 Williams this week. Patrick Williams, for somebody who's only owned in 30% of Yahoo leagues and 5% of ESPN leagues, you can get a steal, you can get a block out of him, you can get good percentages, you can get a triple. I don't see, there's not a massive upside to Patrick Williams, but the downside is it's a high floor, but a low ceiling as it currently sits. We really need DeRozan or Levine to miss an extended period of time, potentially even Vooch to miss an extended period of time for Patrick Williams' usage to leapfrog. But we know he's a defensive guy first. As I said, 1-3, 1 steal, 1 block so far this season, per game so far this season. If we're looking at we're looking at the last 2 weeks of basketball, 1.5 triples, 1.5 blocks, just under a steal. Like, good percentages. 10 points. The points are not great. The assist numbers are not going to be great, but you are going to get 1-1-1 with 5, 6, 7 boards a night, and he's not going to hurt you anywhere. So I really like Patrick Williams. As I said, he's owned in, 32% of Yahoo leagues, was it? 30% of Yahoo leagues, 5% of ESPN leagues. Somebody you should definitely take a look at. Torrey Craig, just straight out of the fantasy basketball vault. I don't remember the last time I owned Torrey Craig in a league. Maybe back in his days at Milwaukee. Was he at Milwaukee? Let's have a quick look. Torrey Craig was... God, he used to play in Australia. I did not know that. Cairns Taipans, Wellington Saints, Brisbane Bullets, Gold Coast Rollers. I don't even think the Gold Coast Rollers even exist. Denver, and then Milwaukee. So Milwaukee would have been the last time that I owned him, and that's going back, 3 years almost. He just hasn't been a fantasy relevant player up until now. Jay Crowder, part of me thought, would he come back? I feel like there's too much has gone down for there to just be bridges mended and Jay Crowder to rejoin the side. And obviously Cam Johnson is out for prolonged period of time. Might even be the year. In steps Torrey Craig. 30 minutes a night over the last week. 14 points, 16 points, 13 points, 10 points, 9 points. 4 boards, 6 boards, 10 boards, 9 boards, 4 boards. A steal or a block in every single game in the last, 10 games. Not dissimilar to Patrick Williams. You're going to get good production out of Torrey Craig. He's not going to shoot the lights out. He's not going to be an absolute stud. But you're going to get double-digit points. Low double-digit points, granted, but double-digit points. A triple and a half to 2 triples. A steal and a block on decent percentages. They are very, very similar players that aren't going to hurt you anywhere. I would be a little bit more concerned about Torrey Craig just because of his penchant to put up a triple. That can hurt if he's not on, but it's low volume, so it's not really going to hurt too much. He's owned in 26% of Yahoo leagues, 4% of ESPN leagues, and what we know of Phoenix is they run the offense through 2 people, maybe 3. Ayton, they're not really running offense through anyway. It's going through Devin Booker and or Chris Paul / campaign, whoever's playing. The rest of their side is defense first. Mikal Bridges, defense first. Torrey Craig, defense first. Chris Paul, to be fair, is a defensive first player. They are a very well-drilled side. They play really good team basketball, which means that they are not afraid for somebody else to take the shot. And I really like that Torrey Craig is able to stretch the floor for them, similar to what Cam Johnson did. But Torrey Craig's just a much better defender. So I really like Torrey Craig as a streamer for the next couple of weeks until, hopefully, DeAndre Ayton starts to lift. But Torrey Craig is somebody, dual position on ESPN. I really like him. Alec Burks. I was surprised at Alec Burks' explosion last year. Again, I didn't own him last year. He's somebody that I feel like I haven't owned in 3 or 4 seasons, probably back in his Utah days. He's playing some good basketball at the moment, and with Cade Cunningham down for an indefinite period of time, Alec Burks is going to be an absolute bucket. It's what he does. He's going to get you, or he's going to put up enough shots to get you close to 20 points a night. Over the last 2 weeks, he's averaging 15 points a night, 2 triples, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, but that number is only going to rise as he gets more usage and he gets more time in the seat with Cade Cunningham down. His last 2 games, 23 points, 16 points. The game before that, 15 points. It's just that one in the middle. A steal in every one of those games. I think that he's worth owning it as long as his minutes are going to stay between the 23, 24, 25 minutes a night mark. He's going to be valuable. He is owned in 21% of Yahoo leagues and 4% of ESPN leagues, which is fine because obviously he's going to be owned in less places than the previous guys that I've mentioned because the upside and the rounded skill set just isn't there. But I still like Alec Burks. And then finally, Dennis Smith Jr., just back from a bit of time off with his, I believe it was an ankle injury, straight into the lineup for 25 minutes. Yes, LaMelo Ball is also injured, but I think that they're going to play 3 guards moving forward. I think that we're going to really see a share of Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball, and Dennis Smith Jr. Yes, his points weren't there, but his defensive stats are going to be there because he is just an athletic freak, as well as his assist numbers, I think, are going to be just outstanding. The ownership for Dennis Smith Jr. is surprisingly flipped to ESPN. It's the first time, I think, in probably all year that I'm talking about somebody who's owned in more leagues on ESPN than it is on Yahoo. 35% in Yahoo leagues, 36% on ESPN leagues. And I think that's about right. He's somebody that, they only play 2 games this week, so it makes it a little bit difficult to roster him, but the back end of the week when they are playing more games, he's somebody that you should really be targeting. If I'm to rank these guys in order of who I like for the current week, I am going to go with Torrey Craig, Patrick Williams, Jalen Williams, Dennis Smith Jr., Alec Burks. Torrey Craig, Patrick Williams, Jalen Williams, Dennis Smith Jr., Alec Burks. They're just the top guys there are just a bit more well-rounded, and they're able to provide across the board. That's about it. Obviously, best of luck on your fantasy journeys this week. If you are new, then welcome, as I said before. And if you are returning, then and you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the button and rate and subscribe.